the Scene Snob Reviews Killers of the Flower Moon, the new movie by Martin Scorsese, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Lily Gladstone, Robert De Niro, and many, many more. And then we have a Christmas future classic, maybe? Candy Cane Lane, starring Eddie Murphy in the not a titular role. He lives on the street that is actually where it takes place, Candy Cane Lane. So let's start with Flowers of the Killer Moon, because I have a lot to say and I want to say it. Flowers of the Killer Moon is about the Osage Indian murders back in the early 20s, 30s. It started more towards the teens, like 1914, I believe, is really when it was sort of started kicking off. And the main character in this story, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, named Ernest, who is a real person, married one of the Native American Osage women, who had a long-standing wealth from oil that was discovered on their land. And what they would do is, and it was horrifying, the government would make these Native American people have guardians, like white guardians, to kind of come in and handle all their finances and stuff, would tell them what they can spend on and what they can't spend on. And they would actually have to, like, it was in this movie, they depicted it as they would actually have to secure permission. They would actually have to kind of beg for their own money, and they could still be denied. That's horrifying and ridiculous. Sorry, my dog's barking, but don't usually let it happen. But Killers of the Flower Moon, it was a 4-hour movie that just tells this horrifying tale, and it really made me want to go and do a deep dive into what was actually occurring and happening, and I did. And it is a crazy story. I do think that everybody should read it, just like the Tulsa murders and things like that. These are things that in history that we should be privy to, but this was a really important story to tell. Now, as for my movie review, I don't think it told it properly. I had a lot of problems with this movie in terms of story. I think the acting was very good. Leonardo DiCaprio, like I had said earlier, didn't really shine in this role for me, but he doesn't shine in similar roles like this. When he plays like these Slavic characters, he's great in them. He gets lost in them, but there's something about it where he doesn't shine. It's like the Wolf of Wall Streets or the Catch Me If You Cans and things like that, where he really shines. Where, in my opinion, he's like up and at him, peppy, things like that. So that's just my feelings on his performance. Still not a bad performance. He did fantastically, and the story's good. It's based on a book, and more so than the actual history. So it's following the perspective of Ernest throughout the movie, and closely following his uncle, William Hale, who Robert De Niro played, who they were the ones that were, William Hale was this rich cattle baron who was making his nephews and others marry these women to control the wealth and kill them off and other members of the tribe and family to gain the access to that wealth. And it was horrifying. And they tell that, and it is disturbing what is shown in the fact that this is a true story. But where the movie, for me, just didn't get it right was that it shifted the perspective to the villains. Now I'm sitting here for 4 hours watching the villains' perspective and watching the horror unfold from their side of it. They're not justifying it, but I kind of wish it was either told from the perspective of the victims, so then that way we can get that idea and like how it affected them, and it was more personal, because Lily Gladstone was doing a great job in this role as Molly, but I feel like she was reined back in. Like there wasn't enough of her. It should have been her story from her perspective. It's all of her sisters dying. It's all of, she goes through the most within the character's movie. I'm not going to say in real life, but she goes through the worst of it. And her husband is at the heart of it. So there was a lot there that I think you could have done and empowered a female character like that, and it would have made for a better story than what we got. I don't care about the villains. I care about the villains when they're interesting and sympathetic. These aren't sympathetic villains. They're trying to be, especially Ernest's character and with Leonardo DiCaprio and how he played it, but they're not. And you don't care about them. And the things they're doing are vicious and cruel and disgusting. So it's not getting me to cheer for you when I'm seeing it from their perspective. With that being said, that's a personal preference. There's plenty of people who don't mind their perspective, so I can understand why they really liked it. I do kind of wish if they didn't go from the perspective of the victims, they maybe did a dual perspective like he did in The Departed. That could have been really cool too. I just wish there was a little more thought than just adaptation of the book. Because rather than just adapting it from the book and having Scorsese work with his team to actually tell a story that he could have made really well done and shorter, Let's be real, shorter. There's a lot of stuff in there that didn't have to be. Generally on the side of the villains, but it was jarring for me that it was like that. So I didn't love it. I would have preferred the perspective to be a little bit different. I don't know. I'd love to hear what you guys think. But my review of this, my rating for this movie is 4 out of 5. Good movie, great movie. Well performed, good performance, well shot. Everything about it was really well done. But the story just kind of suffered, and it takes away microphone. But let's move on to our next movie, and that is Candy Cane Lane. 5 out of 5. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, I'm not going to do that to kill it. The Flower Moon. Candy Cane Lane is a movie where Eddie Murphy, having just lost his job, he was always about the craftsmanship that goes into things, like his Christmas decorations are all wood carved, and he puts a lot of work and time into it. And it's a whole lane where everybody tries to outdo each other with the lights. So that perspective was interesting. Then he loses his job and he realizes, oh, the winner of the light contest or decoration contest wins $100,000. So he becomes obsessed to try and win that money to help cover a lot of things. And it turns out that in reality, it's not, everything is not always as it seems. He goes and he buys a very special decoration from an evil elf. Yes, I realize this is the story, but whatever. It's not that bad. It's all right. I'm not even gonna get into it anymore. It was a fun family film, Christmas film. Is it anything to write home about? Not really. I would put it more on the, next to some of these Christmas films where it's like you watch them, but they're really not the classics. But I do think this could be one that's good for the family every year. Just something to sit down. It's silly. It's funny. There's a lot of good things, a lot of good gags. I'm sad to see Eddie Murphy kind of step away from either revisiting roles. I know Beverly Hills Cop 4 is coming out, but that was pre-planned before the pandemic. But he was on a roll there with like Dolomite and a few others. And I felt like he was gearing up to be more into his stand-up. And then after COVID, it kind of changed things. So we got this movie, not bad. I don't mind the Eddie Murphy family films because I don't think he does a bad job in them. I just don't think he's always the right role for him. In this one, I do. So I did enjoy it. A lot of it is because the whole family works together. It was enjoyable. It was an enjoyable Christmas film. That's the best way. I'm middle of the road, 3 mics out of 5. I've seen way worse. I've seen way better. But if you like Christmas films, it's worth checking out. All right, everybody, we're going to move on. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Or join up on our Discord like we talked about earlier. The Snob Nation Discord is free to join. Links down in the link tree below. We'd love to have you, and we'll talk about everything there. Channels for everything. So, all right, it is time for a mixed movie pick. 1974. Here we go. I went with a movie from 1974 that a lot of people probably won't give a chance, and they should. And that is Foxy Brown. Pam Grier is fantastic, and this is a great role. It's a great character. She is terrific in it. It is a great representation of exploitation of the 70s. It is a great representation of the times, but it also has a lot of heart, a lot of feel, and a lot of touching, cool, action-packed moments all over the place. I really do think that if you haven't seen this, you should check it out. It's the same as like if you're watching a lot of the exploitation films of the time. They could get a little wacky. They could seem a little surreal sometimes, but they were always worth it. So, yeah, check that out. That is my mixed movie pick for this week. Thank you guys so much for joining in tonight. Thank you, Paul, producer Paul, for being here. We love him. Guys, like I said, my promise is to be way more absurd in the new year and to do a lot more crazy things. But you got to join up on the Discord and you got to be a part of it because we are moving to building the community now. It's 5 years and we want to do that. And we want to do that with you. So make sure you join up on the Discord. I told you everything else, who our sponsors was. Thank you, StubHub, for everything. We gave you all the geeky ideas. Hopefully you guys like them. If not, tell us some of the ones that you're going to be doing. We'd love to hear that too. Thank you guys for always being around, always being a part of it. I truly appreciate you. And I don't feel enough people, especially this time of year, hear that. I do. When I have falling outs with people, and I've had falling outs with people who watch the show, and it breaks my heart every time. I know it doesn't feel like it, but like this show for me has always been about the outcasts. And that's why this episode is called The Outcasts. I've been feeling it. So I just want to say thank you all for being part. And remember to be kind. Remember to stay classy. And remember to take care of yourselves because that's important. Bye.